I didn't say a word when the HOA president slammed the Cias on Dias letter down in front of me at the board meeting, her acrylic nails tapping the header that read immediate flagpole removal required. Her voice was sharp enough, too. Cut glass as she lectured me about uniformity and aesthetic cohesion. I let her finish. Then I slid a thin, folded packet across the table, a certified copy of the Federal Freedom to Display the American Flag Act of 2005, highlighted in yellow, with my installation permit signed by the county inspector. I watched their lawyer's face go pale before he even reached the second page. I didn't need to raise my voice. The silence in the room was enough. I didn't come here for fights. I bought this place 3 years ago after retiring from 22 years in the Navy. My wife and I had been looking for a small, quiet community close enough to our daughter's family, but far enough from the city noise. The neighborhood had tree-lined streets, a lake at the edge of the property, and just enough distance between houses that you could drink coffee on your porch without hearing your neighbor sneeze. The cabin itself wasn't fancy, 2 bedrooms, a wraparound porch, and the same flagpole my grandfather had planted in front of his farmhouse decades ago. Carefully restored and set in concrete when I moved in, my mornings were simple. Coffee before sunrise, tending the small vegetable patch, maybe fishing if the weather was right. I didn't know much about HOA politics, and I didn't care to. The first sign of trouble came 2 months in, a plain white envelope was taped to my door with notice of violation in bold red letters. It claimed my flagpole, a simple aluminum shaft with a 5B8 American flag, was unapproved exterior modification. I read the letter twice, thinking it had to be a mistake. The pole wasn't new. It had been there since before I bought the house. More importantly, it wasn't some decorative lawn ornament. It was the same one I'd flown the flag from during my years on active duty. The one I'd promised my grandfather would stand as long as I had breath in my body. I called the number at the bottom of the letter, expecting a quick correction. Instead, I was told in clipped tones that HOA policy required all exterior structures to be approved by the board, regardless of federal law. At first, I played it civil. I sent an email with photographs, installation permits, and even a link to the Freedom to Display the American Flag Act of 2005, which clearly prohibits HOAs from restricting the display of the U.S. flag on residential property. I asked for a meeting to clarify. I didn't get a reply. 2 weeks later, another notice arrived, this time with a $150 fine for failure to comply. I showed up at the next board meeting, documents in hand. The president glanced at them, smirked, and said, "We don't take orders from Washington. Here, our rules are clear." That was the moment I stopped trying to reason with them and started planning. I began digging, literally and figuratively. I pulled the original plat map from the county records, noting the date my property was incorporated into the subdivision. I requested every HOA bylaw revision from the last 20 years. I filed a public records request for all violation notices they'd issued in the past 5 years, looking for patterns. And I found them. Veterans in the community, the few that had been here long, had all received similar notices, mostly over flags, yard signs, or minor home repairs. Some had complied, others had sold and left. It wasn't about aesthetics, it was about control. While they kept sending fines, I kept collecting ammunition. I had the county zoning office confirm in writing that my flagpole installation predated the HOA's creation by several years, meaning it was grandfathered in. Had my original purchase agreement, which made no mention of flagpole restrictions. I found 2 supreme court cases and multiple federal statutes affirming the right to display the U.S. flag, regardless of HOA bylaws, provided the structure was safe and compliant, which mine was. I also had a little extra weight in my back pocket, a statement from the local chapter of the American Legion. It's offering to back me publicly if this went to court. It was almost funny how predictable they became. Another letter, another fine, a threat to place a lien on my property. The thing about bullies is they expect you to yell, to flinch, to give them something to feed on. I gave them nothing, not a word, just silence and more paperwork. When the date for the final compliance hearing arrived, I was ready. The room was warm, the kind of stale air you get when no one opens the windows for years. The board sat in a row, the president in the middle, with that same tight smile. She opened with the usual script: repeated violations, refusal to comply, mounting fines. I waited until she finished, then placed my packet on the table. The top page was a certified copy of the Freedom to Display the American Flag Act signed by the county clerk. Beneath it, the county permit showing the flagpole installation date, years before the HOA existed. Under that, photographs, survey maps, and a notarized statement from the previous owner confirming its permanence. The HOA's lawyer flipped through the papers, each page landing heavier than the last. His face shifted from confidence to calculation, to something close to panic. I didn't speak until he set the stack down. "You've been issuing unlawful fines against me for over 4 months," I said, calm as if I were ordering lunch. "Under federal law, those fines are void. Under state statute, you're liable for damages if you continue. And if you attempt to file a lien, you'll be doing so in direct violation of both county zoning law and federal veterans' rights. Now, shall we discuss your next move?" The silence stretched so long I could hear the wall clock ticking. The president glanced at the lawyer, but he kept his eyes down. Finally, she muttered something about reviewing the matter and adjourned the meeting. 2 weeks later, I received a letter not taped to my door this time, but delivered by certified mail. All fines rescinded. All violations withdrawn. The HOA regretted any misunderstanding and would update bylaws to ensure compliance with applicable federal statutes. They didn't apologize, of course. People like that never do. They did stop now. When I drive through the neighborhood, some wave. Others turn away. Flag still flies, catching the morning light the way it always has. I still drink my coffee on the porch, still tend the garden, still enjoy the quiet I came here for. Every time I pass the flagpole, I'm reminded of something my grandfather used to say: "Some fights aren't worth starting, but some are worth finishing."